These are 10 apps every cleaning business owner should use. So the more that you can use software and technology to do some of the more repetitive tasks in your business, the greater the ability for you to scale your business, not have to employ virtual assistants or labor to do these tasks for you, and ultimately the more profitable your company will be. So let's jump straight into it. So first of all are the Google apps. So Google is a fantastic, or offers a fantastic software offering for small and new business owners. The main apps that I would suggest using straight out of the box, firstly, Google's Gmail email suite. So, you can use your domain email address via Google Mail. So, it doesn't need to be your company at gmail.com. You could use, if your name's David's Cleaning Company, it could be hello@davidscleaningcompany.com. So you can use your business domain through the Google Mail, the Gmail suite. And Google makes it really, really easy for you to set that up. It just takes a few clicks, and it's, a few dollars a month to essentially start using the Gmail dashboard that many of you will be already using for your personal email. So there's very, very little in terms of additional knowledge and experience you need to go through to start using the Gmail suite. So the Gmail, fantastic to begin with. You should also be looking to use your Google Calendar at the beginning as well, because the reality is that if you only have even a small handful of cleaners at the beginning, you can probably just use Google Calendar for your scheduling to begin with. So every cleaner can have their own individual color within your calendar, and you'll probably only have a handful of clients to begin with, so you can use Google's free calendar software at the start. You don't need to invest in a scheduling software straight out the bat if budgets are a bit tight. So Google Calendar, again, fantastic. And then the third part of the Google Apps suite that I advise people to start using straight away is Google Drive. Google Drive is basically Google's cloud document service. So you can create Google Sheets, which is the equivalent of Microsoft Office. You can use documents, but really Google Sheets is going to be the main one that you start using. And you can use this in many, many ways. I think one of the most basic and simplest ways to get started is to simply, create a Google Sheet, and, you want to firstly start tracking every single lead that comes into your business. When an inbound call comes in, you can ask, where, that person found the business. Was it through Google? Was it Facebook? Was it through a flyer? And you can list every single new lead that comes through, and you can simply identify the lead source and say, does the lead convert to a client, or didn't it convert? And this is a great way to simply start tracking all your leads to begin with. So Google Drive, and in particularly the Google Sheets software, is a fantastic place to get started at the beginning of your business. So app 2 are the telephone software offerings out there. So what telephone software does is basically it allows you to stop using your personal cell phone for any inbound client calls or cleaner calls, and you can use a telephone software to essentially turn your laptop or your desktop into a telephone system. So there's lots of different options out there. Open Phone is one, Ring Central is another, and they all basically do the same thing. So if you set up with one of these software businesses, and you open up your laptop and log into that software, essentially any inbound calls that come into your Open Phone or Ring Central, it means that your laptop starts ringing for an inbound call. You can also make outbound calls, and as well as giving you that functionality, it can also track all the calls with time. You can see all the calls that have come in for the recent days and recent weeks, and you can listen to call recordings and things like that. So the sooner you can get away from using your personal cell phone for all the day-to-day interactions and move it into a voice over IP, an internet phone system, the better, because as we know, phones break. It could be one day you might find that your cell phone isn't working, or you lose your phone, or you've left it somewhere, and then if that's the case, you're missing all these inbound calls as well. So, if you have a telephone software set up in the first place, it means that, you can access your calls, your client calls, as long as you have internet connection. And why this is important is that as you bring on virtual assistants and office managers to run your business, they're going to be likely, based somewhere else around the country and other parts of the world. Then you'll be able to just simply give them the login details, and then they will be able to make and receive calls as well. So the second app are the telephone software apps. Thirdly is the scheduling software. So what scheduling software does is basically it takes what you would get from your very, very basic Google Calendar and really takes it up to the next level. So as well as having all your jobs in a central calendar, a scheduling software like ZenMaid or Booking Koala allows you to do a number of other things in addition. So all the softwares out there essentially allow you to send automated confirmation emails to clients once a booking is made. You can send reminder emails before the cleaning is due. You can auto bill or auto charge clients after a cleaning is made, through a Stripe integration. So there's lots and lots of different things, additional things that these scheduling softwares do apart from having this online calendar capability. So, if you have budget, I always recommend cleaning business owners to try and sign up with one of these scheduling softwares, sooner rather than later. You'll find that, it will just save you a huge amount of time for the money that you put in. So as I said, the two I recommend would be ZenMaid and Booking Koala. Lots of these softwares will have free trials. So I would encourage you to try all of them and to go with the option where you think it's most usable, most easy to use. So app 4 are the recruitment apps. And, in particular, I'm talking about those apps that allow you to easily schedule in telephone interviews. The one that we use is calendly.com. And what these apps allow you to do is, rather than, let's say you receive some job applications and, you then email back that candidate to maybe ask them the questions or try and schedule in an interview for a telephone interview or a face-to-face interview. You're going back and forth trying to find out when they're available, match it when you're available, send out confirmation emails. If you use an interview software or interview booking software like Calendly, what this allows you to do is simply send over your Calendly link to a potential applicant. And, when that person clicks, they can see all the availability in your calendar, and then they can simply select the time where they are available to speak. Once they select that time, the candidate will then get sent an automated confirmation email with all the information about the call, what will happen on the call, how long the call is, all that type of thing. You'll also get the candidates will also get a reminder email before and that will help with your show up rates of your candidates as well. So again, these sorts of scheduling software, the interview scheduling software, will save you a huge amount of time. You won't find it saves you a huge amount of time probably at the beginning, but as you grow the business and as you add more and more cleaners to your staff and have to interview more and more cleaners to start growing, you'll find that this is a huge time saver in your business. So app 5 is Zapier. So Zapier really takes the automation and software in your business to the next level, because what Zapier does is it allows different softwares into your business to talk to each other automatically. So as a very, very simple example, let's say you have your telephone software system, you have RingCentral set up, so every time call comes in, the call and the call recording is logged in your RingCentral software. But let's say you want to track all your inbound calls through your Google Sheets. So what you can do is you can use Zapier to essentially, set up a Zap where every time an inbound call is received through RingCentral, it then replicates that data into your Google Sheet as a new array. So it could be, for example, a new call comes in and it completes, and then as soon as that call completes, then what you'll find is automatically there is a new row created in your Google Sheet, and it says this particular time the call was made. It could give you, the caller number, it could give you the length of the call, all that type of information. And rather than you having to manually input that caller detail into your Google Sheet, it may be a lead sheet, you can use Zapier to automatically do this for you. And again, right at the start of your business, when you're not getting a huge amount of calls, you probably won't see a huge time saving using Zapier. But certainly as the business scales, if you're getting 5, 10, 20, 30 calls a day, you will see that there's a real time saving here. So Zapier is a fantastic piece of software to get set up. The value of it really comes when you're using multiple softwares in your business, and it allows those softwares to talk to each other in real time without you having to input additionally into it. So app 6 is canva.com. So Canva, it will really help you with, your branding, your marketing. What Canva does is that, and the way that we use it is that it gives you access to lots of stock photos. It gives you access to lots of templates, flyer templates. It gives you access to cartoon animations, lots and lots of different things. So, let's say, and this is the way that I use it in my business, let's say you wanted to test some flyering in your business. So you wanted to flyer some areas around your existing clients to get more clients. What you could do is you could create a flyer from scratch. If you have some experience yourself, fantastic. Many of us don't, so maybe you have to hire a designer to come up with a flyer design, then you have to get it put together. But what you can do instead is use something like Canva to just pick up one of the flyer templates. They've got lots and lots of great looking templates, lots of great marketing designs on there. So it could be flyer templates, it could be Facebook post templates, it could be LinkedIn banner templates. They have lots and lots of sort of design templates that look very, very professional. And really, for a handful of dollars each month, it really gives you the ability to come out with marketing and branding campaigns without having to go through the pain and the cost of getting someone to do it for you individually. So canva.com is a fantastic piece of software. Again, they've got free trials. It's worth having a little look around there. But particularly if you're doing things on your social media channels, if you're doing flyering, it really makes sense to use Canva sort of as a long-term play. 7 is then your social media apps. So Facebook and Google Business Profile. So when I talk about social media, what I'm really talking about is not, just posting on TikTok or posting on Instagram. This is really when thinking about your reviews, because reviews are a really, really powerful way and a powerful part of your marketing mix. So when I look at, reviews in my cleaning business, I'm really thinking two places. So firstly, we want to make sure that people are leaving reviews on our Google Business Profile, but we also want to make sure that the reviews on our Facebook profile as well, because, you never know, if something happens with your Google Business Profile, if it gets taken down for some reason and all your reviews go with it, you are left with nothing and you have to go from ground zero. So I always recommend that you ask your clients to leave reviews on multiple different channels in case one of those goes away. So you want to get set up with your Facebook profile, your Google Business Profile, and you want to be using the links to those reviews pages on those two social media apps all the time. You want to have it baked into your automation emails to your clients after each clean completes. And you really just want to make sure that you're actively involved, actively posting on your Google Business Profile, actively posting on Facebook as well, because it shows people who visit those pages that you're active, you're in business, but also it's really good for your SEO. And in particular, if you're doing this in your Google Business Profile, having an active Google Business Profile, lots of posts, new videos, new photos, and lots of reviews will really help you to boost your rankings in the map section on page 1 of Google. So 8 are then the lead generation apps. I talk about Bark and Thumbtack extensively on my channel, but you have other ones. You'll have LinkedIn, Google Ads, and this is really grouping all your lead generation activities together. when you, for example, in the case of Bark and Thumbtack, these are pay-per-lead sites. So when you sign up to those as a business owner, you can see any new client leads coming through in real time. And obviously, if you have the apps already on your phone, it means that any new leads that come on, you can instantly see. And really, as I talk about on other videos on my channel, you really only want to act on the really new leads, particularly on Bark and Thumbtack. If leads are 10, 15 minutes or even longer or older, those leads are probably pretty worthless. You probably had other cleaning companies buying those leads, contacting those clients, and probably already have booked them. So the speed of response is really important with these lead generation apps. If you have those apps on your phone, it just means that you can set things up to say, okay, I only want to be notified if leads in this particular zip code, this particular clean type, this particular frequency come up. But as you know, if a notification comes up in real time, you can quickly see it on your phone and you can act on it. And that will just really, really help with your client marketing and your acquisition. So Bark and Thumbtack, use those apps on your phone. LinkedIn and Google Ads, it's less important, for in terms of the time and the response time. But LinkedIn and Google Ads, those apps in particular, if you have them on your phone, it probably means you're going to be checking them more often. And it's definitely the case that the more actively that you're using these platforms, the better your results will be. So whether it's just checking in every day, or looking at some of your ROI or the leads that you've got in that particular day or that particular week, the fact that they're on your phone means that you're probably going to be checking in more actively. What I find, as I said, is that people who, say leave it a week or 2 weeks or longer to review their ad campaigns or their marketing campaigns, simply just don't get the results where someone is checking them much more regularly. So get the most important apps on your phone. It'll force you to check in with these more regularly, and it ultimately will mean that your marketing efforts will get a greater ROI. And then app 9 are the call tracking apps. So this is closely linked to marketing and lead generation. So what the call tracking apps are they allow you to track which client calls have come from your marketing channels as opposed to any of your other channels. So let's say you are running a Google Ads campaign, and one day you get 5 calls in. If you don't really have call tracking set up, you don't know whether those 5 inbound client calls have come from your Google Ads efforts, or if they've come direct to your website, or maybe someone's checked your Facebook page and called from there. And without knowing where your calls are coming from, it really means that you've got no idea about tracking the performance for your marketing campaigns. So most people are able to track, people filling forms on their website, through tracking pixels and things like that. But it takes a bit more effort to track inbound phone calls. And this is where the call tracking apps come into play. These are third-party softwares that you would need to pay for outside of Google. There's lots of different options. If you Google them, what converts is one option, CoreRail is another. You've got lots of different options, and they all essentially do the same thing. And what that, as I said, allows you to do is you could say, okay, I received 5 calls today, 2 came from my Google Ads, 3 came direct through my website, another one came from Facebook. And really, the more closely you can attribute leads from their source, the better your marketing is going to be. Because if you know with certainty that these particular group of leads came from your Google Ads clients, and you close a couple of those to booked clients, you can really much more closely figure out the ROI of those campaigns. And you can compare your Google Ads efforts with say your Facebook efforts and your Yelp efforts. And then you can start to figure out which is my best performing channels, which is my top one, which is my second one, which is my third. And you obviously want to max out the top performers first. But if you're not tracking your leads closely, you'll be really managing it on gut feel. And as we know, gut feel is just not sufficient. You will never effectively use your ad budget if you are running the campaigns on gut feel. So the call tracking apps are really, really important. Again, it takes a bit of time to get up to speed and figure out how they work. But once you've got them set up and running, you don't really have to worry about them. You can just see all the inbound calls that they come in. You can figure out which channel they've come from. So then app 10. And then the final one is about automation and CRM. So CRM stands for customer relationship management. And this is something that people are talking about an awful lot at the moment. This is really, where when people talk about automation and email automation and follow-up and workflows, they're all really talking about the same thing. And this is really, let's say a client makes an inquiry about your services, and maybe they don't book there and then. But what you can do is then you can use a CRM or a follow-up or an automation software to follow up with that lead, continually until they say yes or no. So for example, let's say someone fills out a form today asking for a quote and you call them up but don't hear back from them. You can put them into a workflow, which means that they'll get an automated email the next day or an automated text. And that can be done without your manual input. As soon as you allocate or put that contact into that particular workflow, they can continue to get future emails or future texts in the future. So essentially what it does is that it allows you to follow up with that potential lead without you having to manually do anything. And follow-up is really, really important in this game. You'll find that many people, if you follow up once, you may not get through to that person. So really, if you're not following up, you're leaving money on the table. So you need to follow up, and a CRM system will really help you to do this. The one that we use and the one I talk about a lot on my channel is High Level CRM. It's a really great piece of software. It actually does a number of the other things that we've talked about on other earlier apps on this video. So in this next video, I'll give you a quick intro to what High Level CRM is. As I said, a really powerful piece of software, and it'll give you an intro into how to use it in your cleaning business. So I'll see you on the next one.